Here's my electric bike. It's a GT hybrid bike with all the electric bits and pieces from Cyclotricity. Here's the front wheel. We've got a 36 volt 250 watt motor. That costs £200 along with the control box. This is the battery. That was £400. It's quite a chunky one. It's 36 volt 19 amp hours. On the handlebars there's a control panel with a throttle, and that works with this pedal sensor. I think the pedal sensor and the control panel and the throttle cost £100. So the whole thing cost £700, and the bike itself I think was about £400, so altogether £1,100. The wheel is a 700C, the same as the original one. It's slotted in perfectly, no problems at all. I took the disc off of the original wheel, screwed it on this one, it all fits perfectly. I did have a problem the last time I put a Cyclotricity kit on a bike, when I found that the spindle was a little bit too big. The slot was only 9.5mm, whereas the spindle was 10mm, so I had to file a little bit of metal off. But I didn't have to do anything with this one. The aluminium control box is inside this plastic case. It's a bit crappy. On my previous Cyclotricity bike, these plastic brackets broke. But it's no real big deal. They can be replaced with some P-clips. I've taken the battery off. I'll just have a go at weighing it. It's about 3 3/4 kilos. These two screws were never designed to carry a 3 3/4 kilo water bottle, but at least they do thread into riv nuts in the aluminium frame. It's not just a simple threaded hole. No problems so far. This is the electrical connector for the battery. It's quite nice because you can slot the battery in and it makes the electrical connection at the same time. 1, 2, 3. There we go. The pedal sensor was dead easy to put on. It comes in 2 halves with an aluminium clip going around the outside, so you don't even have to take the crank arm off. And this little sensor here, ever so easy to set up. Just clamp it on the seat tube, adjust it by hinging it out a little bit. It hinges here. Very nice. The LCD display is designed for the standard handlebar diameter, and this bike has got tapered bars, but it still fitted okay. I had a little bit of trouble with the throttle. I had to shave some plastic off of the inside. No big deal though. The Cyclotricity kit comes with a couple of brake levers with built-in switches. Unfortunately I can't use them as they're for cable brakes, and I've got hydraulic brakes. The cables are all of fixed length, but that hasn't been a problem. Everything has gone together well. I worked in electronics for 30 years and I never saw this type of connector anywhere except on electric bikes, but they seem to work alright. So what connections have we got? We've got one going to the battery, one going to the pedal sensor, one going all the way up here down to the motor, another one going all the way up here to a connector block, and that splits into 4. There's a wire going to the LCD controller, a wire going to the throttle, and there's 2 other wires going to the Cyclotricity switched brakes, which I haven't got, so I've chopped those off. I've put the 4-way, now 2-way, connector block inside this piece of plastic trunking with a grommet at each end. Don't tell anybody, but my bike is actually illegal for two reasons. Here's one. You're not supposed to be able to power the bike without pedalling. So throttle not allowed. Also, I've set the speed at which electric assistance cuts out to be over 15.5 miles an hour, which is the legal maximum. For me, an electric bike that cuts out at 15.5 is a dead loss, because it means that on the level, most of the time, I'd be pedalling it myself with no battery assistance, and this is no fun to pedal when the battery's not working. It weighs a ton. However, with the speed limit set to 20 miles an hour, it's a completely different kettle of fish. Much better. Because my speed on the level is probably normally about that. So if I pedal along at 20, the motor's cutting in and out every now and again, pushing me along. Just the job. I'll just show you the LCD display. If I turn it on and then quickly press up and down together, it goes into setup. 33 is flashing there. That's the maximum speed at which the motor will provide assistance. With my size wheel, 35 is about as far as it will go. Above that, it doesn't make any difference. So 33, it's about 20 miles an hour, so I can reduce it below that if I like, but 33 is what I want. There we go. If I press it again, you get options for different sizes of wheels. Press it again, you can change it from kilometers per hour to miles per hour. And at the moment, I've already zeroed the mileage. This is the time you've been cycling since the last time you zeroed the mileage. And if I press this again, it'll go to the total mileage. So far I've been 297 miles and I've been cycling for 18 hours. And this shows the amount of juice left in the battery. There's 4 segments. Cyclotricity say don't trust that, look at the display on the battery instead. But I've found that this works really well, and the one on the battery is not to be trusted. If you press the top button, the light comes on. And this bottom button here provides hill assistance. Helps you get uphill. The only trouble is you've got to keep your finger on it, which is really awkward, so I never use it. I forgot to mention the assistance level. 5 down to 0. I leave it on 5 all the time. I've put the bike on a stand. Let's imagine we're going to go for a little ride. So I turn the power on. Let's have a look at the pedal sensor. There's a little LED on it that tells us it's working. If I back pedal, nothing happens. If I don't pedal at all, nothing happens. But if I pedal in a normal way, above a certain speed, which is pretty slow, the power comes on. There we go. And the power stays on until I stop pedaling. So when you freewheel, you get no power from the motor. Unless you cheat and use the throttle. You can see here 20 miles an hour, but the bike hasn't actually got enough power to propel itself at 20 miles an hour. You have to pedal to go that speed on the level anyway. Here's the battery level indicator. It's fully charged and we've got 3 green and 1 red. Apparently that's normal. Here's the charger. Cyclotricity say you should plug the charger into the battery before plugging the battery into the mains. The trouble is, if you do that, you get a spark, and eventually that spark will wear away the socket on the battery. I know this because that's what happened to my previous bike.